Hello there, Gemini. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot video forecast. This forecast is for the month of April, and we're going to spend the first half of the forecast focusing on April the 1st through the 15th, and then after that we're going to look at the 16th through the 31st. Cross-watchers, you are welcome to be here, but please know energies are not reversible. If you would like to see a reading that is about yourself, please check out your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising sign. So let's take a peek, Geminis, for your environment. What do we have coming up? It looks like there is something going on with your environment where you're starting to feel like you're part of the group or part of the crowd. And it looks like as part of the crowd, you are really sort of waiting on something to happen. You're sort of holding your breath, almost waiting on something to happen. And I feel like what you're waiting on to happen is somebody to release some funds into that situation. And to me, this feels, well, this could be a home situation, but to me, it really does have a stronger feel of a work situation where you're waiting either on a government to come out with some kind of assistance for the company or for somebody to go ahead on a project or okay a project for you guys to begin working on it. So it looks like I said, it feels like everybody's sort of collectively holding their breath to see if this is going to happen, and they're waiting on somebody to release the funds to you guys or give you guys the okay. So that's what I see going on for the 1st through the 15th at least. Next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings. It looks like there is something that you really, really, really want to learn, but you're walking away from that, or at least you're thinking of walking away from that because you feel like if you're going to make long-term plans for yourself that that you can't be distracted or have your energy or your resources scattered on whatever this learning is or this research is, and so you're focusing on long-term and sort of taking your attention off of whatever learning or resources that is, or at least that's what you're thinking about. It's what you're considering in your subconscious. I don't know if that's actually happening in reality, but it's definitely an option that you're considering. Okay. Next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about learning style and also communication style. Looks to me like there is some learning going on around a person that you care about. I think you're finding out new information about them that you didn't necessarily have before. And I think that there is something going on that is definitely triggering your emotions during this time frame. And also we have some learning about money and how to maintain money. And it's interesting because so far you're the third sign I've done today, and out of those three you're the third one that we've had something having to do with learning about money, and in some cases also talking about money, but we'll see. We haven't looked at your communication zone yet. So let's take a peek. I do think that there's somebody that you're sending messages to regularly, but then who wouldn't that apply to, right? But I do think that these messages are very truthful and transparent that you're sending back and forth to this other person. I feel like there's an area where normally you would be communicating quite a bit, and I feel like that's kind of blank right now. I feel like there's not a lot of communication happening in that area. And then, what's this last thing that I'm looking at? There is somebody that you're trying to communicate with during this time frame, or I should say that you are communicating with during this time frame, that they, I think you're trying really hard to hide your emotions whenever you talk to this person. You're just really trying to hide your feelings and not let on how you're really feeling as you're communicating with them. And that could go a couple of ways. I think for different ones of you it's going to go different ways, so I'm not going to get more specific than that because I feel multiple storylines veering off of there. Next thing that we are looking at, Geminis, is your work, and it does look to me like you are working. You have some responsibilities definitely to take care of, And I feel like you may even have options about work. So for some of you, this is going to be work where you go get paid. For others of you, this is going to be, well, I have plenty of responsibilities at home. You know, I'm repainting the interior or the exterior maybe, or, you know, we're redoing the kitchen or whatever. There could be plenty of options for that type of work. And for others of you, it could be that you're going to work and that you have plenty of options about what you do about work. So you could have options of where you could work. So if you're in the medical field, maybe you have options. Maybe you have people knocking on the door. Hey, I would really like you to come and work here. Maybe, you know, maybe even FEMA is knocking on the door. Hey, I would like you to come and do this assignment or whatever, you know. But definitely when it comes to work, I feel like a lot of you Geminis are working, and I feel like you have options whenever it comes to work. It looks to me like for a lot of you, the pandemic has not so much killed the industry that you're in or your way of making a living. As a matter of fact, it may even be bringing new life to the industry that you're a part of. So that would say that a lot of the people who are Geminis who watch my videos, you know, have to do something with some of the essential services that are needed in spite of the pandemic and maybe even because of the pandemic. All right, let's look next at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now, Geminis. It does look to me like you are finding a way to take a break. I don't even know if I want to say you're finding a way to take a break. I think you are taking a break. I don't know that you necessarily have chosen to take a break as much as just necessity has required that. And I think that as you're doing this, you know, as you've got this unvolunteered for downtime, I think you are thinking things over and coming out of the situation with a different perspective than what you went into it with. And I think that as you come out of this unexpected downtime, I think you're going to find yourself in a position where you're looking at new opportunities. I don't think you're going to be crying so much about spilled milk as much as you're going to see a fresh opportunity in front of yourself and begin looking at that and start to make progress towards that, even if it's slow progress at first. Okay, so that's where you're growing or expanding and taking a forced downtime situation and turning it into something that is propelling you forward in a positive direction. Next thing that we're looking at here, Geminis, talks to me about those things that you stand for. And when we look at those things that you stand for, this is really talking about a situation where somebody has probably asked you to explain something, or they may have even confronted you on a situation, and so you've had to defend it even. So this is the thing that you stand for. We'll look at that situation, and then we're also going to look at how that person feels about you in the situation after you've already discussed it with them. So it looks like you and some friends had what seemed like was going to be an absolutely fantastic, wonderful, great idea, and it went completely off track and didn't turn out anything at all like y'all thought it would to begin with. And so after you've talked about this situation with your other person, they see you as somebody who is trying to make forward progress in a situation and has met with heartbreak through no fault of your own and confusion as well on top of it. So I don't think once you have this conversation, this other person blames you for what happened. I think they see it as an unfortunate situation for yourself because they're seeing it as a heartbreaking and confusing situation where, you know, after you explain it to them. Interesting, interesting. All right, Geminis. So next thing that we are going to look at talks to me about that flex point here in your reading. And the flex point is the point where you have a change of perspective, which changes how you interact with the world. So that changes your trajectory in the world. So that's why it's a flex point. Okay. So something's going on here where somebody is giving you some bad advice that is really making you feel dejected. And I think that this bad advice is about something that you did in the past that you want to get revitalized and bring it back and pay attention to it again and get it going again. and somebody is giving you some advice saying, oh, don't do that, that would be terrible, that'll never work out, la 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 la, whatever else they're saying. And what you should say while they're talking is la 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 la, I can't hear you. Because it is coming up as bad advice whenever I look at this card on the board. This is not the type of advice that you want to listen to. Okay? So we'll see. Do you listen to it or not? That'll probably show up for us. Let's find out what else is going on around the same time that somebody's giving you that horrid advice. So it looks like, I'm going to say it looks to me like you're listening to this advice, and it probably has something to do with a relationship. And so I think that once this person gives you this advice, I think the person that the advice is about actually really throws a fit about the whole situation. And I think that you try to collaborate with this person, you try to come together, you try to put energy and effort into that situation that had been put down in the past. But I think it's not long before you are trying to detach from that situation. And I think this person, you know, having a fit kind of made you question their maturity level and if you want to stick for that. At the same time, I think we have a self-esteem issue going on here, and I think you really feel like you don't know what you want to do. You know that you're unhappy with things the way they are. And with things the way they are, I mean, you know, detaching from this other person, I don't think that makes you happy. Being detached from this other person doesn't make you happy. First of all, it does a number on your self-esteem, especially if you're married and you guys are separated. I think your self-esteem is taking a big hit, but even in other situations, it's coming out quite plainly that your self-esteem is taking a hit, your happiness is taking a hit, your security is taking a hit, you know, and you're feeling like you just don't know how to solve this problem or how to make it better. Well, of course you don't, because you got some bad advice from somebody that's thrown you off. So, hey, what do? We change the energy if we see something we don't like. We change that energy. We don't pay attention to bad advice because we already know we've got a heads up. That's not the best advice I could get there. Don't think I'm going to listen to that person. La 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 la. That's what we're doing. That's what should be done here. Maybe in a little bit of a more mature fashion. Okay, so where do we see you at the end of this time frame, though, Geminis? We see you finding some relief, actually, and putting something to an end, and really coming into a situation where you're taking charge, you're making your decisions. I think that you're basically deciding, you know what, yeah, that was kind of bad advice. I wish I wouldn't have listened to it, but now we're going to turn this around. And I think as you're turning this around, then you're finding some relief here. You're starting to see that, yes, this really could work. It was kind of a rough start, but whatever this is really could work. And I think for most of you, like I said, it's going to be a relationship. It doesn't have to be. This could be a project or a hobby that, you know, you're taking off the back burner. But I do think, like I said, for most of you, it's a relationship, and you're seeing where whatever this is actually can work out by the time we get to the end of this time frame, by the time we get to the end of the 15th. So I think you're realizing that that advice probably wasn't the best advice, and so you're moving forward, really making your own decisions and figuring out what your own destination is very clearly and following the mile markers to get to that. Okay, so that is the first half of the month. I'm going to take a little break and come back, and then we'll look at the second half of the month. I'll see you in just a second. Hello there, Gemini. Welcome back. We are doing April 16th through the 31st this time around, and what we're looking at first is your environment. And so what we have is that things are going really good in your environment, that it is a great place for you to actually be. And then towards the end of the time frame, we actually see you moving away from it. So you may be leaving for a business trip or going on vacation, or I don't know exactly where you may be going here, but I don't feel like you're going to be going for long because the environment here is so good. Or maybe it's just that you were on vacation and now you're going home and you were really enjoying that environment. Either way, the environment looks like a really positive place to be, and I see you actually leaving it at the end of the time frame, within the last third of the time frame. Okay, so next thing that we're looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings, Geminis. And so, subconscious leanings, ugh. All right, it looks to me like you've got a situation that you're not very happy with, and I'm feeling like it has to do with money. It could have to do with family too, but I think for a lot of you, this is more focused on money. And I think that you are in your subconscious, you're deciding that, you know what, I'm going to change this. I'm going to make a difference here. I'm going to make this situation change. So we'll see what happens as far as actions during this time frame. But at least for right now, all we're doing is we're seeing that in the subconscious. Next thing that I want to look at talks to me about learning style and also communication style during this particular time frame, Gemini. I do feel like you are learning quite a bit. In spite of that, there is one topic that you would like to know more about, and I think that you're just having a hard time finding any information about that particular topic. But you do have other topics that you're looking at that you're just learning, and a lot of that has to do with your own curiosity. You're following your curiosity to find out information about different things as you go along just by asking questions and participating in particular situations. I also feel like you guys may be, some of you Geminis I feel like are actually putting together some type of book, article, magazine, blogcast, something. And it looks to me like you're working on putting all the pieces together about how you want to go about that. For some of you, it's going to be, you know, a particular episode. For others of you, it's going to be this general idea of creating a blog or a podcast or a book or a magazine article or whatever. But I do feel like that's what I'm seeing here is a work that's being put together that's in progress. I'm not seeing the completed product here so far. And so that is part of your learning style is just figuring out how to do that, how to make it all work together. Now, as far as communication, I do see some new communications coming up with a few people. I would not say a whole lot like we saw before, but with a few people. Um, I think that you have somebody who is coming to you for advice about something that happened in their life, and they're trying to figure out uh, is this something acceptable or not acceptable? What exactly? They're really trying to figure out heads for tails. And I think they're coming to you because they know that you can see things for what they are. You're a more objective type of person, and they are hoping that you can give them some good insights into what is actually going on in their situation so that they can make a more productive decision around that. So that's part of your communication style. And ba-bum, bum, bum, bum. I do think you're going to be talking to somebody about some of the research that you've already done, some of the information that you've already found and dug up. This may have to do with that podcast, blog, magazine, article, book, whatever, but I do think you're going to be talking to somebody about some things like that. You may even be sending out samples in some way to people that are not so close to you, so sending them out by mail, UPS, FedEx, etc., that type of thing, for them to take a peek at. Whoop, whoop. That's kind of exciting, Geminis. All right, next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about work. So what do we have when we're looking at work? Geminis, I think you have some type of situation that has not gone well at work, and I think it has you feeling really upset, to be honest. I think that you were emotionally involved in whatever this was, and I think that also you are trying to please somebody. You're trying to make an offer that will please somebody so that whatever this is that has that you're emotionally tied to, that this can be righted and put together the way that it should be. And I think that that other person is not very receptive. Now, for some of you, this is going to be a boss that has said, you know, we're not doing this way anymore, blah, blah. And so you're making them some kind of offer. Well, I know you don't want to do it this way, but what if we did it this way and still did such and such, but we just did it a different way or something. You're making some kind of offer to them. They're turning it down. For others of you, this is going to be you going to the government. You know, say that there's lockdown situations that are coming down that are becoming even more strict. I hope not. But just for an example, say that there's something going on with the government where they're really restricting things at your industry or in your job. And you could, you know, if this is your business, you could be going to the government and saying, you know, what if we did this, this, this? I think you're going to them trying to find some kind of compromise, and I don't feel like they're open for compromise, whether it's the government, a supervisor, whatever. I don't see them as being open or willing to even talk about a compromise in most cases, actually. Sorry, Gemini. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. And so what I'm seeing here is that we have, sorry, I had to put my phone on silent. What I'm seeing here is that we have a situation where we see that there is somebody coming back from the past, and I think that as they come back from the past, this is somebody that you're glad to see. I think you have some good memories with them. But as they come back from the past, I think what you're seeing is you guys really are not on the same page anymore. And things don't work. They don't flow the way they used to when the two of you come back together again. And so I think that yeah, I think that this is something that gives you food for thought, and really I think you start to consider, well, how come we don't flow anymore? You know, has one of us grown more in a certain way where the other one hasn't, or what's going on there? So I think that you guys are really thinking about, you know, why is that? Because I really like that person that came back from the past, but why is it that we just don't really flow like we used to? Okay. So the next thing that we're looking at, Geminis, does talk to me about those things that you stand for. And we're going to look at that thing that you stand for, plus we're going to look at how the other person feels about you after you stand up for this thing or this situation. So it looks like what you're standing up for is this idea of home and the idea that, is this someone else or is this Gemini? I think that there's somebody around your home where they're kind of going back and forth. No, this is you. I think you are going back and forth around whether you want to consider somebody family who's in your sphere of influence. And this is somebody who has high energy. They're very outgoing. They like to have a lot of fun, but they may make some really immature decisions sometimes, and that could be a little bit frustrating. And so I think what's going on is you're going back and forth about, well, I don't know, do I want to consider this person a member of my tribe? For some of you, it could be, I don't know if I want to let this person be a roommate or not. And, you know, this whole kind of going back and forth with this situation because you're not sure, you know, how close you want to let this person be in your inner circle. And so after you have explained the situation to somebody, I think you're actually explaining it to this person, how you feel about this situation, that you're really torn. And I think that I think they really are upset by this. And I think that they decide to make a rash decision for themselves that, okay, well, that means that they're not taking it as, well, I'm really torn about whether I should do this or not. They take it as, well, that means they're not going to let me into their inner circle in whatever fashion that happens to apply for you. And I think they just kind of take off and get out of the picture. And I think they're really disappointed and they're feeling pretty vulnerable after this. So that's what we have going on there. There's a little miscommunication there. So you want to be aware. If there's a situation like that that comes up for you, Geminis, you want to be aware and be sensitive to the other person and how they may be taking the words that are coming out of your mouth, and try to be very clear with them about that. Okay, so the next thing that we're looking at, guys, talks to me about your flex period. So this is that period where your perspective is changing and where you're changing how you interact with the world, which is changing your outcomes. So I like to call this the flex period. So what we have coming up here, La da 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 da. What do we have? So it looks like you have some plans, some long-term plans that you've already made, and you are continuing on with those long-term plans, but it's stressing you out. So it's something that you're already committed to, but continuing to move towards it is bringing you a lot of stress, whatever this long-term plan is. At the same time that you're stressing out about this long-term plan, there is something going on where there's a fight that has ended. So this is a fight that you were involved in, fight, argument, debate, whatever you want to call it. And that has come to an end. You guys have found peace here, but I feel like it's a really cautious peace. I feel like you definitely are a little bit suspicious about, okay, what's coming next? Is this going to be another fight? Is this going to be okay? And it looks like what's coming next actually is you and whoever this person was that are fighting actually getting along and finding that you enjoy each other. So what else is going on at the same time? At the same time that that's happening, it looks like you're waiting for something, and you're waiting for something because there's something that should have been completed that really hasn't had all the loose ends tied up yet. And I think what you're waiting on is you're waiting on that final closure for whatever that is. And what's actually happening, instead of you receiving closure, is that things just aren't over yet. You're not receiving that closure because things just aren't over yet in that situation. And then what do we see at the end of the month for you, Geminis? We see you in a situation. What's going on here? You just have some strange things popping up in your reading this time. It looks like you're basically trying to make peace with somebody where there were problems before. And so you may be doing some apologizing, or you may be, making some kind of offer of, hey, let's sit down and talk this stuff over. I think that you've got somebody that, with whatever misunderstanding happened before, I think they're not feeling very happy towards you and not feeling very receptive to you. And so what we see at the end of the month is you're setting out to fix that. You're setting out to change their perception of you, because I feel like you're feeling like they misjudged you, like they got it all wrong when they were figuring out what you were about and what you were up to. And so you are just trying to sort of set the record straight, and you're just trying to get into the point where they will actually talk to you so that you can set the record straight once we get into the end of the month. So good luck with that. I wish you all the best with that. Thank you guys very much for being here. If you would like to have a private reading where we look at your particular energies and how things shake out for you specifically, feel free to contact me on the website listed below, and we'll get together and schedule something that works for both of us where we can bring you some clarity. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this video. Everybody have a fantastic month. And if I don't see you here for a private reading or a private Reiki session, then I'll see you back here on the next video. Peace out.